A low grinding sent shockwaves through the air, knocking the morning dew off a couple cracked windscreens in the junkyard. The crusher was turned on. This meant only one thing: processing day. The day when the scrap was to be loaded into the crusher and compacted into a small metal cube that would then be sent to a smelter to be melted down. A few of the residents stirred. Most stayed still, content to sleep away their time, however much left of it there was. The majority of the scrap was old cars and lorries, whose time on the road had come to an end in one form or another. In one of the piles sat 3 particular lorries, all in various states of decay. The first and least broken one sat with his rear propped up on top of his own rotting tires. The second was festooned with rust all over that turned his former red paint shades of brown and orange. And the third sat broken amongst a pile of parts that at one time might have belonged to him. He snarled as he awoke.
"Where is that mechanic? How can I show those engines what for if he's late? Once I do, I'll show that little green goblin who's boss."
The other two sighed. This was a common occurrence. After his accident, Smashed had never been the same. Each day he awoke thinking it was just after his horrific accident. He'd been overloaded with stone, and the steep road had destroyed his brakes, leaving him careening out of control until he went off the road and plunged off a cliff. He had survived, but the two wondered how anyone could call being mentally trapped in a day that had happened several months ago a blessing. "I'm sure you will," Broken sighed, having given up trying to correct him long ago.
"Where is that mechanic?"
Smashed asked after a moment of silence, completely forgetting what had just been said. Broken said no more. He looked over to Sunk, who was looking sad. That lorry had been careless, and backed down a boat ramp into the sea. Despite being rescued, the salt water had totaled him completely inside and out. Beyond the rusty paint, all his wires were corroded and useless. Every moving part was so rusted there was not enough oil in the world to make him move without horrific creaking. Broken felt his anger rise as he looked at his brothers and himself. Soon, he snapped. "I don't know why the boss threw me in here with you two. I'm still in one piece, I just need a new axle."
Broken, shut up. You heard what he said. You not only broke your axle, but you completely totaled your transmission. Rebuilding it would cost more than selling all of us for scrap. And it's not like Smashed would get much, given his state.
But it's not fair. We were supposed to run this railway into the ground, tear up the rails and get a nice road made for us. How they managed to get away from Beechings Axe anyway?
Huh. Once that mechanic fixes me, he'll fix you lot up too. Then it'll be goodbye to those steam kettles. Just you wait.
Well, clearly Beeching failed here. This island that we were sent to conquer clearly loves its railway more than the mainland did. They won, and we lost.
Why us? We don't need their worthless rails and we could go anywhere. The people on this island also love their road vehicles. See that ancient old Biddy Caroline? The old girl should have been melted down years ago along with that ancient traction engine. Why do they get to stay and we get cast aside? It's simple, came a tired old sigh. The lorries looked over towards an old tractor, who appeared in a very sorry state. His paint was covered in rust and his body dented beyond recognition. They have good owners and actually take care of them. You can go anywhere, but if you're not cared for, nothing matters. My owner did everything to keep me running on the cheap. If something broke, it never got fixed unless it prevented me from working. Even then the repairs were crude and done on the farm. Eventually he grew tired of my worn-out appearance and sold me for junk to buy another new tractor. Won't be long before it ends up here too. That's just how it goes for all those vehicles. No matter how old they are or what they ride on, as long as there are people who care, they'll last centuries. If not, well, you already know. The 3 lorries sat in silence, until Smash broke it.
"Where's that mechanic?"
Sunk and Broken said nothing. Another engine revved loudly to join in with the crusher. The engine of the scrap crane. It was time to get to work. Processing day moved briskly as the large crane hummed away, picking up hunks of scrap in its massive claw and placing it on the conveyor. Its claws soon clamped around the old tractor. He gave a pained grunt, but he said nothing as he was hoisted upwards, and then dropped down onto the conveyor that led to the crusher. The lorries looked away as the tractor's life came to a sudden end. They watched as the crane got closer and closer to them. It only stopped when the operator took off for his lunch break. Sunk and Broken talked. You think they'll get to us today?
It's only lunchtime, and they are moving fast.
They ain't gonna get us. We'll soon be back on the roads, taking work from those useless railway engines.
Sunk and Broken just said nothing. Soon, too soon for them, the lunch break was over and work began again. The crane swung its massive grabber over and dropped it right on top of Smashed.
Hey, watch the paint!
He grumped obliviously. The crane lifted the remains of the wrecked lorry up and dropped it onto the conveyor. Sunk and Broken watched them go up it and enter the crusher.
I'll tell you, when that green rat sees me again, I'm gonna...
With a sickening thud, the crusher dropped down. It shook the earth, leaving a flat pancake of metal where once parts of a lorry had been. Sunk and Broken just looked down at the ground. One down, two more to go. Maybe they'll leave us alone?
Maybe, but I really doubt it.
The machinery kept turning, more scrap was added to the conveyor, and it was crushed flat. The shadow of the grabber danced over the two lorries, making them wince every time it seemed to linger over them.
It's gonna be me next, I know it.
Don't talk that way. You talk like that, it will happen.
No, I'm done denying it. I mean, Broken, bruv, just look at me. I'm rustier than those engines that we once called rust buckets. Nothing in me works after my seat dunk. Everything's been flooded out and nothing works anymore. Chances are I'm gonna be gone by the end of today.
Your radiator's finally cracked. It can still be repaired.
I could have, but I'm more trouble than I'm worth. I just don't want to go out in denial like he did.
But if you go, I'll be here on my own.
Look at it this way, brother. No one can repair Smashed. No one will repair me. But maybe, just maybe, someone might have the art to repair you.
The shadow of the grabber hovered over the rusty lorry. Lucky me.
Lucky you.
The grabber came down and dug into the rusty body of Sunk. He winced in pain before relaxing. He didn't look at his brother. He simply closed his eyes. Broken watched as he was lifted up and then sat on the conveyor. Broken could only watch until he couldn't anymore. A shower of broken glass rained down on his roof, and something heavy landed on the ground nearby. When he looked down, he saw it was a broken headlight with corroded wires dangling out the back. Now on his own, he wasn't feeling too sure of his own fate. It could have been repaired. They could have repaired him. But no matter how many times he tried to convince himself it was true, he couldn't believe his own lies. As the sun set behind the buildings, the engines coughed and died. The junkyard settled into silence. Broken looked around him. A lot of scrap that had once been piled around him was now gone. The broken lorry knew that he'd gotten lucky. But tomorrow, this begins all over again. Unhappily, the broken lorry went to sleep. He hoped he'd sleep soundly enough to avoid being woken when the end came. Broken was awoken by the feeling of being dragged backwards. He opened his eyes to see it was now daylight, and that he was being tugged away. "Hey, what's going on?" he asked in surprise as the yard manager came up.
Some nuts came in here looking for a used lorry and thought you were a good option. Why they want a rusty like you, I don't know, nor care. All I care is they paid you scrap value.
Broken said nothing as he was pulled onto a trailer. He stared at the broken headlight from sunk. Smashed. Sunk. 2 brothers gone. And he was the last one. He said nothing as he left the scrapyard for the final time. Broken was bought by a farmer in the countryside. The farmer's son, who was a mechanic, replaced his broken parts, had him repainted and relicensed to LOR 4. The blue lorry now works on the farm, quietly taking crates of strawberries down to the market in the summer and firework during the fall. He doesn't talk much, he just silently does his work without fuss. Even when he comes to railway crossings, he stays silent. His owners say he runs flawlessly, except on days when they drive past the junkyard. The lorry suddenly develops engine issues, coughing and spluttering and grinding. Once they're past it, things go back to normal. Mechanics are puzzled by this weird phenomena, wondering how a perfectly good lorry can develop such an issue. But we know better, don't we?